Honorable Speaker, colleague ministers and deputy ministers, honorable members of the House, Honorable Speaker, let me start by acknowledging the presence in the gallery of representatives of members of the families affected by this tragedy. They are Mr. Andrew Peterson, Mr. Nomvula Nonjabe, and Ms. Agnes Molotwa. I'm sure they may stand up. Needless to say, we are deeply distressed and angered by the death of...
Thank you very much for your coming.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yes. Needless to say, we are deeply distressed and angered by the death of mentally ill patients that were transferred from Life's Demeni Mental Health Facility in Gauteng. This constitutes one of the periods of darkness in the history of our country, and I say it was also a moment of madness in the Provincial Health Department. Our anguish is exacerbated by the fact that the disease constitutes some of the most vulnerable members of society who are in need of even more protection than the rest of society. That the idea behind Gauteng Mental Health Marathon Project, as it came to be known, was to save money, adds another dimension to our disappointment and pain. I wish to put it on record that at no stage did it emerge, directly or indirectly, implicitly or explicitly, that the Department of Health nationally or in any province has run out of money to take care of mentally ill patients. There was hence no reason for so many vulnerable people to perish on account of money. I interrogated this issue with the Premier of Gauteng Province because I wanted to understand what actually the Executive Council in the province discussed and approved. He told me that the issue never featured on the agenda of the Executive Council, but that he, as the Premier, was told that the Department of Health has 4,000 beds in public health institutions, which they would like to use, and that there's absolutely no reason to continue contracting private service providers when the public sector can provide that number of beds. This august House must please note that the Demeni contract was for 2,000 patients. Hence, the statement from the department to the Premier was to the effect that they can accommodate them twice. The Premier assures me that at no time was the issue of NGOs ever raised until that fateful day in September, when the MEC made an announcement of 36 deaths in provincial legislature. At the national level, we have got the MINMEC. Like all the MINMECs, it consists of the minister and MECs. But in addition, the MINMEC at the national level has the Surgeon General of South African Military Health Service and SALCA. It is therefore a statutory body. When there are huge undertakings in health or elsewhere that may affect health, the MINMEC usually sits and even go into recess. We did so with the FIFA World Cup. We did so before the president launched the huge 8-city campaign to test 15 million South Africans. We did so in the advent of Ebola 2014. I want to state here today that the issue of moving health patients in Gauteng, which clearly falls within this category, have never been mentioned, even once, in the National Health Council, to be dealt with like all the other major events. We take the death of so many citizens in very serious light and will therefore like justice, not only to prevail, but also seen to be done. I believe by now, Parliament more or less knows what happened. Hence, I wish to spend time explaining what we have done. As we have come to understand it, the Department of Health wanted to move mentally ill patients out of Life's Demeni. When families were informed of this, they objected because they were satisfied about Life's Demeni. Together with South African Depression and Anxiety Group and the South African Federation of Mental Health, they approached Section 27 to take up the matter with them at the provincial level. When Section 27 realized they are not going anywhere with the provincial department, they prepared to go to court. While the court case was set, they conducted the Director General in the National Department of Health and informed her of this problem and the court case, and that the Minister and the Premier of Gauteng will be cited even though no relief is being sought against them. The matter was set for the 22nd of December 2015. However, on the 21st of December, a day before the court case, the parties decided to enter into a settlement agreement and not go to court. The settlement agreement was very clear and simple. Among others, it stated, 1, that the parties shall henceforth engage in discussion aimed at resolving the dispute between them by no later than the 31st of January 2016. 2. For avoidance of doubt, the Gauteng Department of Health shall maintain the status quo by not placing users from Life's Dimeni facilities in any other facility pending the conclusion of the settlement. 3. That the outcome of the settlement discussion is intended to inter alia address the plan for the placement of users following the termination of the contract between Gauteng Department of Health and its Dimeni. And 4. All stakeholders shall endeavor to reach an agreed plan by no later than 31st January, guided by the constitutional imperative on the Gauteng Department of Health, and shall at very least endeavor that users receive health and other services of no lesser quality to the services that they are currently receiving at Life's Dimeni in order to protect, promote, and their constitutional rights. These honorable members is what the parties signed for and agreed upon. And they said there was no need to make it an order of court because they are all in agreement. These honorable members, please know that the agreement says nothing about NGOs. It just emphasized that wherever they are being taken to must be places of no lesser quality than Life's Dimeni. I interrogated this issue with Section 27, and they said they had no reason to suspect that anybody was planning any foul play, and hence did not insist on the agreement being made an order of court, and they had informed the Director General of Health to this effect immediately after signing. Unfortunately, as it is, Gauteng Department of Health did not honor the agreement at all, and in March 2016, Section 27 rushed to court when they heard that they are about to start moving patients, contrary to the agreement. This time, they did not inform the National Director General of this development because they wanted an urgent court interdict. Unfortunately, the Gauteng Department of Health was able to convince the court that they are honoring the plan, that they will not deviate from the agreement, that wherever they move the patients, it will be in line with the agreement, that the services will be no less than, lesser than the quality at Life's Dimeni. Hence, the court dismissed the Section 27 interdict. Armed with this court case, the Gauteng Department of Health fobbed off any attempts by the National Director General and the National Chief Director of Mental Health, who was supposed to have been invited to all the meetings in Gauteng where the plan was tabled and executed. They said that the court of law was agreeing with them on every issue. But what happened next is completely against what they told the court. Firstly, NGOs were issued invalid licenses, as the health impact discovered later. The licenses were issued by the Director of Mental Health instead of the HOD. Secondly, the NGOs went to Life's Dimeni to pick up patients on their own and brought them to their homes without files, without diagnosis, without all the necessary ingredients. It was difficult for relatives to know where they are. It was in September 2016 when the MEC announced in the provincial legislature that we realized that something has gone dangerously wrong, and I hence appointed the health ombuds to investigate what actually happened and who did what. The health ombud made findings that this project was indeed negligent, chaotic, and hurried, but also violated the rights of mentally ill patients and went totally against the principles of health, the preservation of life, which is the preservation of life and not the opposite. They were in all 18 recommendations. In carrying them religiously, we want to correct anomalies that happened. The first serious anomaly we picked up in Gauteng National Provincial Department was that the Mental Health Act and the National Mental Health Policy Framework were not followed. One of the findings of the Ombud was that this national plan was selectively interpreted, misinterpreted, and contravened. All the checks and balances which were strenuously coupled together were left. To protect mental health users and ensure their safety and security, Mental Health provides for the formation of mental health review boards in each province. Unfortunately, in Gauteng, the Ombud found that the Mental Health Review Board is moribund, was not effective, had no authority. That's why the chairperson of that is also being charged. I appointed a team of 60 experts who, for 3 days last week, visited all the NGOs. 7 of them have been closed. 600 patients have been moved to government facilities. we are left with 700. And Chairperson, I want to emphasize that we have now opened an operation center, which by next week will work on the 24-hour basis. No stone will be unturned. There will have to be court cases in this case where the National Prosecuting Authority will decide who to prosecute and who not to prosecute. There will definitely be inquest for each and every death, which will be conducted by the magistrate. There is no way that anything will be swept under the carpet because it's not possible to do so. We are taking this opportunity to apologize deeply to the families affected. At every corner, we are working with them. We are not taking any decision alone. Thank you very much.
The Honorable James.